Good morning and welcome. Patriot Radio News Hour on this Monday, the 11th day of January. I'm Joe Jaquin, CEO of the Patriot Trading Group, and our toll-free number, 800-951-0592, the website at allamericangold.com. And, craziness is all I can say. Craziness is everywhere. I mean, and again, let's not mistake it. The plan is being orchestrated, whether you like it or not, whether you want to believe it or not, and it just continues. So many things. We're going to talk about cryptocurrency today. Again, I warned you a couple of weeks ago. Just don't do it on leverage. Bitcoin has lost $10,000 since Friday, and now the Bank of England issuing a warning, be prepared to lose all of your money. Now, I'm not saying that. I'm telling you what the Bank of England said. Again, though, remember, for the last several months, and I'm way behind, by the time I figure it out, it was already decided probably 5 years ago, maybe 10. I mean, this is how far behind I am. Because you know what? I'm not in the meetings. Right? You think this whole thing with the presidential election wasn't planned? Of course it was. And again, shame on everybody. We've got 9 days to the inauguration. The Democrats going ahead with impeachment again, wasting our money. We got so many problems, and this is what we're doing. QAnon, there was a big dump from WikiLeaks over the weekend. Some of the followers out there talking about an armed takeover and these things. I don't, again, I'm just all these things out there. Parler essentially taken out of business, being deplatformed, not having a server or anything to get their messages out. And you know what's so funny? And I hear these things, and I know I'm kind of all over the place, but they're talking about Google and Facebook and Twitter, and who's Twitter now, right? The president, you're out. Think about what the Ayatollah of Iran has a Twitter account. Tweets death to America all the time. That's okay. The man who got 75 million votes for president, he's not allowed. Something's wrong. But they talk about these companies being private. They're not private companies. Patriot is a private company. Right? I don't sell stock to the public. I don't file paperwork with the SEC. Google, Facebook, Twitter, these are not private companies. These are public companies. You have media networks threatening their show hosts, their broadcasters, with firing if they say they dispute the election. And again, this is the problem with allowing all these media companies to be huge. You control the news. And this is what happened. This isn't America. I mean, what happened last week was regrettable. It was. And I had wished that Donald Trump had handled it differently. But when you think about the totality of what we've witnessed over the last, decade or so, it's kind of, not to minimize it, but, we've seen worse. And my warning to all of us, and I mean all of us, right now, the Democrats like it. because it helps them. The next time around, it will be different. And we all need to stand up for our rights and our freedoms, and understanding that these companies out there that are limiting our freedom of speech, limiting our freedom of expression, it's wrong, period, and should not be allowed. But again, one of the reasons, you need another reason to buy gold from Patriot versus other companies. Because I own a radio station in Colorado that allows, I don't censor my host. I don't censor any one of them because I don't think it's the right thing to do. But it truly is amazing. And I'm just thinking about all the money being wasted, all this nonsense, right? It's not even possible to impeach somebody in 9 days. I mean, it just can't happen. And again, that's not unity. That's not united because they don't have no intentions of uniting us whatsoever. That's not the plan. And get ready. Get ready to witness the dumbest president we've ever had in Joe Biden. And I don't mean to attack, but he has lost a lot of his mental faculties. And think about the fact that before a debate, he'd have to take 3 days off so he could be rested enough to handle, a 90-minute debate? What, the President of the United States, that's a job that's 24/7, folks. 800-951-0592, Patriot Radio News Hour, legal, lawful, constitutional tender, gold and silver. Get ready. And I know, day to day, it moves this way, that way. Get ready. The 10-year note now at 1.12 and rising. The 10-year note in a week's gone up 20%. The yield's up 20%. The losses continue to pile up there. The gold sold off during the rise, but now it's kind of going the other way. Right, are we entering the phase now as the higher the yield goes? More people need to go to gold. It's kind of an interesting market. So Friday, is another down day for gold and silver, but there was a big rally in the gold and silver markets in the electronic trade on Friday. Right now, gold's actually up about $14-15 from the New York close. I think on Kiko, I think gold's up like a dollar, something like that. Silver, same thing. Silver was down, in the low 24s Friday. Right now is at 25 and a quarter. And I'm sitting there saying, hey, silver's up 60 cents. I think Kitco may have it flat, may even still have it down 10 or 15 cents. But a pretty decent comeback, but this is nothing. It's nothing. I mean, I worry very much, and I want to move past what's happening. I want to move past that and focus in on what we think we know. Right? The Biden administration looks like is coming into power. The Democrats are going to control both branches of Congress, and it's going to be a very difficult time for all of us. Very, very difficult time. We're my fear is, and I'm thinking about, COVID being the main reason why we're seeing what we're seeing today with Joe Biden. But again, who knows? Maybe that was part of the plan all along, right? This is a person who needs a lot of rest, a lot of time off. You think about the campaign and all of those things, and I only bring this up because this was the realities. He would, we were used to seeing president's campaign every day, right? And you know what their schedules were crazy, right? They would hit 5, 6, 7, 8 different cities in a day. And that was too much of a workload. It just was. And I worry about the progressiveness of this. This is going to be something where I think Kamala Harris may be the most powerful vice president we've ever seen. You know, remember the Democrats used to like to play it up about how powerful Dick Cheney was. Kamala Harris, I mean, that's going to be Dick Cheney on steroids. And I think we need to start preparing for that. I think what we're going to see as this happens, and all of a sudden, the Donald Trump narrative is out of the media. Right? And Joe Biden has to have his press conferences and keep us updated. Listen, once that happens, I'm going to tell you right now, there's a lot of people that are going to be worried about it. A lot of people that are going to be worried about it. And when we're sitting here, we're watching what's going to come next. I mean, what are just the things that they said were going to happen. Right? We know they promised stimulus checks for everybody. Right? That's $2,000 a person. Right? You're talking about, and you got to remember there's certain eligibility, this or that. You're talking about, I don't know, $700-800 billion. Right? Just right there. Then we know that they want trillions of dollars for the states. And listen, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure it out. Especially for those of you, we've got offices in Arizona and Colorado, 2 destination states that have been inundated with the blue staters. Imagine Georgia and Florida, the Carolinas, right? Everybody fleeing. California, fleeing New York, fleeing New Jersey, fleeing Illinois. These states are going bankrupt. And I know we want to pretend it's not happening. That's right. Oh, there's a moratorium, double. It's okay. Right? You hear these guys, they parade out on the idiot box trying to convince you that the stock market at an all-time high is okay. Even though every single metrics they've ever told us about is at ridiculous levels. I didn't make these metrics up. They did. They told us how we should value debt markets. And when you sit there and you're looking at things and it makes no sense, that's when you really know. You need to make sure you have some hard assets put away. Just little things that nobody talks about. Besides, them wanting trillions of dollars for states. And really, where are we at? What if they don't give it to them? What do you think's going to happen to the pension funds in California? What do you really think's going to happen to the pension funds in New York, in New Jersey, in Connecticut, in Pennsylvania, in Illinois? What do you really think's going to happen? What do you think's going to happen with all the commercial real estate that isn't being paid for? I mean, do we really believe in 11 more weeks that the 30 million or so that are living in households that can't pay the rent are going to be thrown out into the streets? Or are we just going to get massive government handouts? It's so amazing. 10 years ago, Just 10. Universal basic income would have been like, no way. Right? That's probably when we first started here. Well, probably after the financial crisis. We started, well, we just may have to just start paying people. Which we already do with food stamps and rental assistance and the other, however many 100 different other government programs. But are we entering an era now where, I don't know, what's the number? Half? Is the number half? Half of Americans need some form of government assistance every month? Right? I mean, look at the unemployment and what we're paying. Listen, we pay way over what they were supposed to get because we have to. I mean, you think that's going to get better? I mean, when we really look at where are the jobs really being created, I mean, really. Just since, let's go back to, the tech bubble blowing up, okay? Let's go back there. So early 2000s to today, where have the jobs really been? Well, one of them we know is healthcare, right? Because we're getting older. It's not the jobs, it's not the glamour jobs of healthcare. Even though, let's face it, we're, nurses and doctors, right? Those are good jobs. But really, when you look into the details of the jobs created, most of them are, hey, we need you to change bedpans, help with bathing, older seniors, changing the linens, right? I mean, that's really where the bulk of the jobs are. Not, you don't have to be a registered nurse or things of that nature. That's where the most of the jobs are. Not great paying jobs. These are, minimum wage, next to minimum wage jobs. That's a huge category. The other huge category was leisure. And we're talking about waiters and waitresses, bartenders, right? Maybe dishwashers, cooks. We're talking about maids, right? Maybe the person that checked you in at the hotel. If you stayed at a fancy hotel, right? The bellhops, right? These are not high-paying jobs. And now, fast forward to today. When you look at where the jobs are, who's really doing the hiring? I mean, if there's one company that you said, okay, what company's hiring? The first one that comes to my mind, Amazon is hiring. What does Amazon hire you for? Warehouse picker. Yeah. What kind of job? Oh, wait, that's right. It's a minimum wage job. Or, I know, you could be a taxi cab guy. Got to use your own car. Hey, you know what? You can deliver food. These are the jobs. These are the jobs. And you all know you can't support yourself on those. And this is the realities that we're living in. We are in the greatest bubble the world has ever seen. This isn't new. This has been going on ever since we left the gold standard. Every time the bubble bursts, it's always bigger than the last one. This one's massive. And I just believe the way things are looking, listen, this is the last bubble before the new money comes in. I think about it, 1933, that's when they took the gold from the citizenry. Here we are, 2021, not even 100 years later. We won't even make it 100 years. And this is what you're preparing for. I mean, we could pretend, oh, yeah, Bitcoin, oh, yeah, great. Know what it is. Listen, and I love Bitcoin and all the other coins. I love what it represents. Something that's outside of the central bank. It's what gold and silver is, right? They're trying to be the digital gold and silver. Here's the problem. The central banks aren't going to let that happen. All is it? Could you imagine? Okay, the Bank of England came out and said, "Get ready for all of that stuff to go to zero." Right, and Bitcoin's down $10,000 since Friday. What do you think happens when Jay Powell says it, or Janet Yellen says it, or whoever it is that's going to be in charge when it all happens says it? Pacer Radio News Hour. We'll be back after the break. 800-951-0592. Bitcoin down $7,000 this morning. Barely over 31,000 right this second. As the Bank of England now, the latest in worrying about the crypto. And again, remember my thought on this is they allowed it for them to work it all out, right? Work out the technology, work out all the bugs, work out all this stuff. And then as soon as the central banks of the world go to their digital currencies, these things are just going to get regulated right out of existence. That's what I think. I don't know this, but it's easy enough to do. So in the UK, regulators began cracking down, issuing fraud warnings, and blocking deposits from banks. In other words, not allowing you to purchase cryptocurrencies in the UK. The financial watchdog of the UK came out with they call it the FCA there, a warning to consumers looking to profit from the crypto. Be ready to lose everything. Was the warning. Investigating crypto assets or investments and lending linked to them generally involves taking a very high risk with investors' money, according to the Financial Conduct Authority, or the FCA, in the UK. And the Times is reporting that some banks are now refusing transfers from Bitcoin exchanges, which I'm assuming that goes both ways. Can't transfer in, can't transfer out. And again, I don't know, but this is what I've been suspecting all along. Be careful, right? Just be careful with it. And we'll see. I think we're going to see more of this. I look at Ripple. Ripple was a great example. Ripple at one point was the third largest crypto. Bitcoin was number one. Ethereum was number two. Ripple at one point was number three. They just got pretty much regulated right out of business, right? And I mean, the last I saw Ripple, it was below 30 cents. So this is going to be happening, I think, a lot over and over again, and mostly because once they're ready, right, they don't want you to compete, which I'm all for. I say let them all compete, right? Let the cryptos compete, let gold compete, let us have where we decide to store our hard-earned money should be our business, right? If I'd want to risk it in Bitcoin, I should be allowed. If I want to risk it in gold and silver, I should be allowed. If I want to risk it in the dollar, you should be allowed. That's not how they see it. See, because they never really believe it's our money. And that's the hard part a lot of us have. And a lot of people don't like listening to the show because, oh, well, it's doom and gloom. Well, it's not doom and gloom. This is what's happening. This is what's happening. And I'll give you another example. This is coming out of the largest banks, Goldman, J.P. Morgan, Citigroup. I'm just going to read you some things that they're looking to punish any GOP leaders who challenged the election. From Goldman Sachs to J.P. Morgan, Citigroup, suspending political donations. Now, right now, obviously, after the fact, I mean, what was something like $1 billion was raised in Georgia, but now they're going to suspend them. And I'm sorry, I just got a pop-up that popped up here. So here's what they're looking at now, according to the latest. According to Bloomberg, Goldman Sachs is currently formulating its measures that will curtail future political giving to the elected leaders who fought to overturn the 2020 results. See, if you don't like our message, if you don't want to accept what we're telling you to accept, we're going to cut you off. We're going to cut you off. It's the same reason why, like I worry about Bitcoin. Same reason. Hey, Bitcoin, you don't support our message. We're cutting you off. Well, at J.P. Morgan, the largest bank by assets, says it's going to suspend contributions to both Republicans and Democrats for the next 6 months. And, of course, like I said, there's really not any election, so that's not a huge thing. We want you to be assured that we will not support candidates who do not respect the rule of law, according to Citi's head of global government affairs. Now, we know what that really means, right? Morgan Stanley is also pausing any contributions to any member of Congress who didn't vote to certify Joe Biden's win. Hey, and again, I said it early on. The rule of law was not on the president's side. However, I think we needed to see this through. I think the ones that stood up to say, I'm contesting this, right, it was really saying, hey, let's fix this so it doesn't happen again. But that didn't happen. No. Because, again, we want to believe we had a choice. We didn't have a choice. Because it really didn't matter. Democrat, Republican, one in the same. But get ready. And I'm thinking about, I'm just watching this, and I'm in shock at how quickly they've taken it away from us. Boy, that was quick, wasn't it? Right? And they're going to block it, right? We're going to start blocking. And it's easy to do. Welcome to the new America. The Ayatollah has a Twitter account. Vladimir Putin has a Twitter account. Our president, no Twitter account. Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be back after the break. 800-951-0592. Patriot Radio News Hour. Our first shipment of 2021 Silver Eagles are going to be leaving the bullion bank, and then should be in the next 72 hours. Could be today, may not be till tomorrow or Wednesday. Silver has moved so fast. I mean, Friday during the Phoenix show, during this hour, we were running them at 625. By the time the show ran in Colorado the following hour, I think we got all the way down to 600. Today, they're 610. 610 roll for 2021 U.S. Silver Eagles. On the gold side, U.S. $20 gold pieces at 2,095. So again, we've dipped back below 2,100. So it's a good entry point into the market. Volume discount supply at 800-951-0592. The metals plans will be done this week. Metals plans will be done this week. I was hoping to be done, by the 10th. We're going to miss it by a few days. And probably if I had looked at the calendar a little better, I'm not that smart. Obviously, the last few days were the weekend. But by tomorrow, pretty much the vast majority of them will have been shipped, and maybe all of them by tomorrow. But before the end of the week for sure. And like I said, I really think either tomorrow, maybe Wednesday at the latest. I think they'll all be out. So if you're waiting for those, they're on their way. I had a call during the break asking about, do you think you'll be allowed to purchase gold or anything else with crypto? And my answer to that is pretty simple. You can do it. I think. And I'm talking about me right now. I think I could, if I wanted to make a few calls. There are certain processors, like, think of like a credit card processor, right? Which really, you think about like PayPal, Square, these other ones, things that you've heard of, some that you haven't heard of that are out there. Some of them allow for you to buy some things with crypto. But look at what's happened in the last, really since Friday. Can't count the weekend, Friday and today, the last 48 hours. It really is, from a business standpoint, a huge risk. Not the fact that, Bitcoin's like down $7,000-8,000 today. Not just that type of, when gold has a bad day, right? Maybe it's down $100, right? We can survive that. But Bitcoin falling, $10,000 in a 24-hour period, that's, you'd have to be able to get in and out quickly. The part that's really worrying was the banks saying, hey, we're not going to allow for transfers. So you could imagine as a business owner being like, could you imagine, right? So let's just say someone did $100,000, want to pay me in crypto. And then we book the order. The customer sends me the crypto. Before I could unload it, the bank says, you know what, we're not allowing transfers, right? And then you're stuck. So I don't know that's ever really going to come to fruition. And again, I'm not in the meetings. I'm speculating, but I'm watching what we've been hearing. And I told you, listen, we're going to get all these credibility things from Wall Street, which we have. Right? Crypto went up. It was 42,000 Friday morning. It's 30,000 today. But eventually, and we heard it from the Christine Lagarde, from the Eurozone, it was the Bank of England. Whether you like it or not, crushing the digital currency isn't that hard. All the banks can just say, you know what, we won't take any transfers. We won't take them. Well, then what's its value? If nobody will take it, you can't transfer it out, you can't convert it into anything, then it's highly unlikely. And again, I love the technology and I hate it. The technology is the scary part. Here's the thing you like. You don't have to wait. right? In theory, if you used a crypto instead of a credit card, you get the money instantaneously. Right? You don't have to wait till the next day, or if you ordered online 2 days later, blah, blah, blah. The tracking part of it is what's really creepy. And then, of course, it gives the banks complete control. The one thing that people wanted was something really that wasn't in the control of the central bank. And it's going to end up delivering the exact opposite, right? I feel like it's NAFTA and GATT all over again, right? Remember NAFTA and GATT? Oh, yeah, it's going to be great. You got 1 billion plus people in China and India. We're going to sell them everything. TVs, microwaves, blenders, toasters, automobiles, you name it. But what they didn't tell us was, hey, we're going to fire all of you, open plants over there. We're still going to sell it all to, just not done by your hands. And you're actually going to end up being out of work because of it. It's kind of what I feel like Bitcoin. It's the same thing. And they're going to pull it's the old bait and switch, the old switcheroo. Patriot Radio News Hour. Final segment coming up. 800-951-0592, 2021 U.S. Silver Eagles. And as I explained Friday, remember, this year's going to be a split year for Silver Eagles. We're going to have the end of the old design, which is what we're selling today. Sometime, they're saying middle of the year. I wouldn't be too surprised if it happens a little later than that, maybe, possibly, towards the end of the year. They're going to have a new design. So this is the design that we've had since 1986. They're $610 a roll for the 2021 U.S. Silver Eagles. And then on the gold side, the $20 gold piece below $2,100 today, $2,095. And again, we got a weird market. Gold's up $15. Gold's $1,850, $1,851. Kiko's got it flat. Silver, same thing. Silver's up from the New York close, about 63 cents, $25.25. Wall Street's down, not a ton, down just under 100 points. The 10-year note now, 1.13. So continuing to go higher. And again, remember, as yields rise, the holder of bonds lose money. And when you think about if you're buying bonds 10 months ago, 9 months ago, 8 months ago, at a 10-year yield of 0.4, 0.5, the loss is pretty steep. And this is what's happening. We're seeing a lot of liquidation into the Treasury markets. Of course, the Treasury, with the largest holder of bonds. Of course, they're not going to sell them to realize the loss, but you see where we're at here. Even after Friday, when the Fed's number 2, the vice chair announced, listen, there's no taper, because that was rumor. Oh, when the vaccine takes hold and maybe the Fed can taper it, they can't taper. There's no tapering. And it still hasn't stopped the rise there. And again, though, this was a bubble. Obviously, just because the central bank has interest rates at 0 doesn't mean anything. It really doesn't. Right? Some of these central banks, I'm going to set the yield at a negative yield. That's only if somebody's interested in buying it for that. The Fed and all the other central banks can talk about it all they want. Here's what we know. Their balance sheets are blowing up. There's a lot more debt to come. And sooner or later, like all bubbles, eventually they burst. And we know that, right? We were always a kid. Remember, you try to blow a bubble with the gum and see how big you could blow it, and then it would pop and get all over your face, right, and into your hair and all that stuff. That's what we're talking about. Except the problem is it's not gum, right? You can't go and get a jar of peanut butter and get it out of your hair. This is where your wealth is. This is where all of our wealth is. Patriot Radio News Hour. Maybe you should have some of that wealth that isn't in the system. Of course, that's gold and silver. 800-951-0592. Take care, everybody. God bless. I'll be back tomorrow.